So what you're saying is now is not the best time to buy a house? Good afternoon. So I was reading an article earlier today, and it was talking about how a survey came out from Gallup that said less than a majority of Americans think that right now is a good time to buy a house. And I thought we could go over it because I was kind of interested to see what it was all about. Let's jump into it now. It says record low in the U.S. say it is a good time to buy a house. Thought that was interesting. So it says 30% of U.S. adults say it is a good time to buy a house, down 23 percentage points from a year ago, and the first time the figure has been below 50%. Gallup has asked the question since 1978, including annual updates since 2003. The results are from Gallup's annual economy and personal finance poll, conducted April 1st to 19th. The survey was conducted as the median sale price of U.S. homes reached a record of $428,000, and as mortgage interest rates have climbed to their highest levels in over a decade. And to me, the most interesting thing is the first time the figure has been below 50% since 1978. It reached a high of 80% in 2003-2004. This survey was done at what would be considered the worst time so far to have to buy a house, just given that we're facing high interest rates and higher home prices. Until now, at least half of Americans had consistently said it was a good time to buy a house. The percentage holding that view has varied, often in response to housing market conditions. In the early 2000s, as U.S. homeownership reached an all-time high, a record 81% of Americans said it was a good time to buy a house. As housing prices rose sharply in the mid-2000s, creating a housing bubble and leading to an eventual market crash, positive evaluations of the housing market began to fall into the low 50s. And so even after the crash, the number didn't get to below 50%. Why now? Things were really bad in 2007 to 2009. Why didn't that time in the United States housing history cause the majority of Americans to say it wasn't a good time to buy a home then? Later, as the economy emerged from the Great Recession, mortgage rates were low and housing values recovered. The percentage saying it was a good time to buy a house improved, peaking at 74% in 2014. But that confidence waned in recent years, dipping to 50% in 2020 and 53% a year ago, before cratering this year as housing prices continued to rise amid the limited supply and high demand. Housing prices are still rising, but people are saying it's a bad time to buy? Seems kind of interesting. It says 25% of young adults, those aged 18 to 34, say it's a good time to buy a house, down 42% from a year ago. Among middle-aged adults, those 35 to 54, 28% believe the housing market is favorable, compared with 52% last year. Older adults are somewhat more likely to say it is a good time to buy a house, with 35% holding this view, and that is down from 61% in 2021. Are older adults typically more established with their current homeowner situation and therefore less likely to know or care about the current home buying marketplace? I think this is a plausible explanation for why their numbers are a little bit different than everyone else's. Most Americans believe that the housing price will only get higher, with 70% predicting that average local housing prices will increase over the next year. 18% think prices will stay the same, while 12% think they will decrease. And so, if most Americans believe that house prices will continue to increase, then why do they say that this is the worst time to buy a house? That doesn't seem to make any sense. If you knew that house prices were going up, wouldn't you want to take part in that price appreciation? Is this a fear of buying at the top or near the top? If so, then I could understand that. At the same time, though, will the opinion of the American public shift when house prices start going down? Wouldn't it be a great time to buy then? You'd be getting a discount, no? These attitudes are similar to what they were a year ago, when a record of 71% predicted higher home prices in the area in which they live. In 2005, 7 in 10 Americans also thought home prices were going to increase. Majorities of Americans have expected housing prices to rise since 2013, with the exception of 2020, early in the coronavirus pandemic. Do you believe in behavioral economics? Are prices of homes going up because everyone believes that prices are going up? Similarly, when the majority of people believe that prices go down, will they actually go down? Between 2008 and 2012, Americans were most likely to say home prices would decline or stay the same rather than increase. And then it says, as they have each year since 2014, more Americans choose real estate as the best long-term investment than to pick stocks or gold, savings accounts, or bonds. Gallup first asked Americans to pick among these 5 investment options in 2011. Real estate trailed gold in 2011 and 2012, and it essentially tied gold and stocks in 2013. Since 2014, no less than 30% have chosen real estate as the best long-term investment, with the percentage exceeding 40% for the first time last year. If the majority believe that real estate is the best long-term investment, then it seems to follow that Wall Street will want to own homes. Isn't that what we're seeing in most markets? I personally don't think this is a good thing, nor that it will end well. Real estate is thought to be the best long-term investment option among all major demographic groups, with the exception of lower-income Americans, who are divided about evenly between real estate, stocks, and gold. I thought that was kind of interesting. Why does lower-income Americans, why do they think that way? Why is it so much different than the others? And then it has the bottom line. It says the combination of record high home prices, rising mortgage interest rates, and a limited supply of housing is likely persuading Americans for the first time in Gallup's trend that it is a bad time to buy a house. For now, Americans continue to expect home prices to rise, even though higher interest rates mean prospective home buyers will have to stretch themselves to make higher mortgage payments or settle for a less expensive house. Americans' much more negative assessments of the current housing market may also keep them from looking to buy, which could lead to a slowdown in home sales. If that happens, it would reduce the demand for houses and could lead to a decline in home values. Is this a confirmation of behavioral economics? Negative assessments leading to people moving out of the marketplace, leading to a slowdown in sales, leading to a lower valuations. And so I had a few things that I wanted to put down. And one of those is this survey does not appear to take into account the massive inflation in food and energy. If it did, would the opinions of the ordinary Americans be even worse? So would we be below the 30% point? And as a real estate agent, I tell my current buyers that it's okay if they need to buy a house right now. If the market is hot, bidding wars are still intense, and there's plenty of traffic through listings. Proceed with caution, though. And these are people who have to buy. They aren't looking at a second home or anything like that. If I knew I was going to want to stay in a house for 5 to 7 years, I wouldn't give a house purchase in this market a negative thought. We bought our home in 2007, and we had no intention of moving for a long time. Luckily, we've been able to stay in our home. The first few years might have been rough, but we were in pretty good shape within that 5-year window, which allowed us to do some remodeling and not feel like we were throwing our money away. What should we make of this survey? If the survey goes above 50% again, should we consider that a good time to buy again? What if it goes lower? In some ways, if you own a house, you're kind of insulated against this fluctuation of the marketplace. And so that's what I have for you today. Just a very interesting thing. If everyone's saying that it's a bad time to buy a house, does that mean it's a bad time to buy a house? Or, do we go with the trend? Is the trend our friend here? All I know is that the people that I have that are still in the marketplace that are wanting to buy, they know they're paying a lot of money for a house. They understand that, but they need housing. They're starting families. They're making life choices that lead them to want to be able to live in their own home and build equity over time. But that's what I have for you today. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And I will catch you on the next one.